getting straight into things, let's talk about Tuivasa versus Tybura. Main card opener was Jared Mershaw versus Ryan Barberena. Round 1 was Jared Mershaw dialed in, slick footwork, locked in, strong control on top mount and side control, threatening the Kimura and guillotine without exerting any energy, which was very smart from him. These kind of things is how you can tell that he's a high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. For Barberena, he's in this first round, he was loose with good movement and activity, nice jabs, nice kicks, but it was an easy first round to Mershaw, 10-9. In the second round, we saw a slick takedown from Jared Mershaw, high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu once again, and putting Barberena to sleep and being an absolute gentleman, lifting his legs up at the end, it's always nice to see good sportsmanship like that. I don't think we should count off Brian Barberena just yet. I think his next matchup should be against the loser of Wally Alves versus Abus Magomedov. This will be a good test for him. And just because he's lost his last couple doesn't mean that he isn't still a contender. In his last 6 fights, he's come across people such as Jared Mershaw, Gunnar Nelson, Rafael Dos Anjos, Robbie Lawler, all within his last 6, so we can't count him out just yet. For Jared Mershaw, I'd like to see him against Brad Tavares. As they're the same age, it's a striker versus grappler. They've both lost to the best, and they're both 2-3 in their last 5. For the second fight on the main card, it was Macy Chiasson versus Pani Kianzad 2. Round 1 starts close, very back and forth, then a great takedown from Chiasson, and very active guard from Kianzad. No real danger, and eventually scrambling back to the feet. Incredible quick back take from Chiasson, which leads to the finish. In this fight, they were fighting for a top 5 position, and this was actually their second fight, as they fought, I think it was on the Ultimate Fighter, and it was actually the same outcome, Macy Chiasson with a first round rear naked choke, or it might have been second round rear naked choke. For Pani Kianzad, I'd like to see her versus Carol Rosa. It will be number 9 versus number 6, but I'm not sure Pani Kianzad will be number 6 anymore, as she just lost. They're both coming off a loss, and this will be good for them to stay in the top 10. For Macy Chiasson, I'd like to see her versus Holly Holm or Kayla Harrison. Even Caitlin Vieira. Macy Chiasson, I think she's ranked number 8, I think it was. Holly Holm, number 5. I'm not sure if Holly Holm will retire after this Kayla Harrison fight. If she loses, I can imagine she retires. Even if she wins, I can imagine her retiring on a win. I truly believe that Kayla Harrison will win that, but you never know. A fight's a fight. And for Macy Chiasson to versus Kayla Harrison, it would just be a very good test for Kayla Harrison, depending on how the fight goes. But still, seeing her against somebody younger than Holly Holm, I think will be a good test for her. Christian Rodriguez versus Isaac Dolgarian. Round 1 for Dolgarian, 10-8, strong ground game, chaining submissions and ground and pound. Round 2, another strong round for Dolgarian, 10-9, heavy wrestling for him. Round 3, 10-9 Rodriguez. Domination from Rodriguez, but not as dominant as Dolgarian's round 1, as Dolgarian was still in it. He was still fighting, but round 1 for Dolgarian, Rodriguez, he had no answer for nothing. Honestly, I can see why some people are saying 10-8 for Rodriguez, which I truly believe this fight was a robbery, but it is what it is. This happens quite often in the UFC. Maybe not quite often, but regular enough. I believe for Isaac Dolgarian's next fight, he should verse the winner of Herbert Burns versus Julio Arc. They're both veterans in the sport. Herbert is 3-2 in their last 5, and Julio is 2-3 in his last 5. So they'll both be a good test for him, as Dolgarian is still young and still up and coming. For Christian Rodriguez, I'd like to see him against Jong Young Lee. They have the same record. They're both young and hungry, and they both already want to fight this year. So I think this will be incredible, and possibly if they do fight, I think they would fight again within the future when they're both title contenders. Ovin St. Peru vs Kennedy Nezekchewu. Personally, I believe this was a 30-27 to OSP. It looked like he was in flow state, and he did not look 40 out there, especially against a 31-year-old. Before this matchup, I thought that Kennedy was going to knock him out in the second round. I thought it wasn't even going to be close, but it just goes to show you can never write off a professional like Ovin St. Peru. For Kennedy Nzechukwu, I'd like to see him face Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute is 1-3-1 in his last 5. Nzechukwu is 3-2 in his last 5, and they have a similar amount of experience in the UFC. For Ovince St. Preux, I'd like to see him against Iron Kubuleta. They were supposed to fight. I believe this is a fun fight. St. Preux is 2-3 in his last 5, and Kubuleta is 1-4 in his last 5. Ang Lusa versus Brian Battle. Personally, for this fight, I'm kind of speechless. I don't know what to say. Yes, Lusa was getting pieced up and he was getting dominated in that first round before the eye poke, but you can never say just because Brian Battle won the first round that he would have won the entire fight. There's proof of this in Oliveira versus Michael Chandler, where Michael Chandler looked like he was about to knock out Oliveira because of that first round, and then the second round starts and we see Charles Oliveira knock out Michael Chandler. So you can never count off a fighter after one bad round. I didn't really like how Brian Battle handled the situation, but I can understand why he acted like that out of anger, especially when Lusa was getting pieced up, and I'll be honest, it did look like he was looking for a way out of that fight, but still, I don't believe we can count him out. Honestly, for their next fights, I'd like to see them run it back. I mean, they almost did straight after the fight, so they both should be healthy. I mean, hopefully we get some updates on Lusa's eye and we'll see how it is, but I think they just run that one back. The main event, Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. At the start of this fight, we saw Tuivasa going heavy, almost knocking Tybura out, and then just a change where Tybura takes him down and submits him with a rear naked choke. For Tai Tuivasa's next fight, I'd like to see him versus Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. They're both heavy hitters. Tai is 1-4 in his last 5. Marcos is 3-2 in his last 5. And this fight would be for them to stay in the rankings. For Marcin Tybura's next fight, I'd like to see him against either Sergey Spivak or Alexander Volkov. Marcin Tybura beat Spivak in 2020 and he lost to Volkov in 2021. Personally, I think if he had the choice out of these two fighters, he would choose Volkov because Volkov's ranked number 6 and Tybura is ranked number 10. But after beating Tuivasa, who I believe was ranked number 9, I believe he'll go down to either a 7 or an 8, and this is just the perfect matchup to make. Plus, I'm sure he would love to avenge his loss.